wife, a mom of two under two. I have two boys. I'm a believer. I love Yeshua. He's my best friend. And I'm also an author. If you haven't checked out my book, it's on Amazon. I'll link it in the description below. And please leave a review if you have purchased it. And if you enjoyed it, your thoughts really matter. And your opinions really matter as well, and it helps. So thank you very much. Now, today's topic is my experiences just on the different feedings: formula feeding, bottle feeding, and pumping. If you are a new parent, a new mama, or a new dad, congratulations. I am so excited for you and I'm so happy for you, and I just pray that as you're on this journey that you'll have so much wisdom and that the Lord will really give you understanding as to how or what is best for you and your family, because it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. Let's be honest. I mean, there's so many different things outside of just the excitement of having a baby, but now it's like, okay, now there's other things like feeding, diapers, and all these different things that come into it, that while it can be fun sometimes while creating the registry or just thinking about these things as time approaches, it can be overwhelming. But nevertheless, I hope that what I share can really be encouraging to you guys, and I pray that also too, like I said, that your pregnancy is just really full of joy, and that you guys enjoy this wonderful journey until your baby is here, and that the Lord will give you all the understanding that you need, not only for this, but also the spiritual side of things, that you'll be able to train your child up in the way that he or she shall go. So as the scripture says. So let's dive on into it. So disclaimer, let me just backtrack a little bit. These are, again, my experiences. Okay, I'm not a lactation consultant. I'm not a professional. I just have two under two, and this is what I found. So I'm sure there's many other things that you can find along your own journey, or that you may see or come across. But like I said, so the first topic is formula, right? So the first thing that comes to mind is the cost of formula, right? Formula can be pretty expensive, to say the least. Not only is it expensive, but you got to do your due diligence, right? So you have to do your research. Trying to find the right formula brand can be a lot, because there's so many out there. There's the ones that you see advertised on commercials. There's the ones that you may see at a family or friend may use, and there's also like ones that are for babies who have sensitive tummies and things like that, or who may have allergic reactions, or just goat milk formulas out there as well. Just some things that come to mind. Personally, we used a generic brand, and then afterwards we read the ingredients and it just wasn't sitting well. We prayed about it and the Lord was like, yeah, switch it. So we did that, and we ended up using a European brand. It's much cleaner. If that's the way that you want to go, if you'd rather not, then whatever floats your boat, whatever the Lord is telling you to do, then obviously you just go with it, right? So, but definitely that's something to consider and do a lot of research on. And then at the end of the day, you really don't know, because you might say, hey, I want to try this brand, but then your baby comes and then you give your baby the formula, and it's like, wow, the baby's not really necessarily like agreeing to the formula, as my son did. So, and that's one of the reasons why we also had to change formula brands. He's also crying. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background. I hope he's probably trying to get in here. The other thing is that formula is expensive. Okay, a can, because sometimes one can per week, which usually will end up happening as the baby grows, the more cans you'll need. My son, he went by so many cans as he got closer to 1 years old. I was kind of like, okay, we were paying like close to $100 or more just on formula. It's like, whoa, really eating into the budget here. So that's something that you need to take into consideration. Like, it is costly outside of like having to do research. The other thing is that the good thing, some people may want to travel. If you want to go on vacation, you can do that, because you know that your baby will have formula. You can let your spouse feed the baby. You can have family members feed the baby. If you're sending your baby to daycare, you don't have to worry about necessarily pumping and having it stored somewhere, or not even that, but just having to do other things to just really sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice. It's a great sacrifice, but to do that. So just something to keep in mind when you are thinking about formula. That's also something that can come up, but you do get more sleep. I will say this, I find that kids, so far I just have two kids, I find that my kids, the difference between my breastfed baby, which is the youngest, and the older one, he slept way more with formula. My breastfed baby, that's not really a thing right now, so but I'll get to that later on. The other thing is that what could be helpful with the what I found helpful with the formula feeding, I think I was closer to, he was like 8 months and I just found out about this, and I'm like, where was this all my life? It was formula containers. They are on Amazon, like, who would have knew? Amazon has a lot of stuff, so I mean that kind of does make sense. But if you don't know, they have these little like formula containers, dispensers, where it comes like, it's stackables. I wish I had. I think no, I don't have it anymore. And we end up giving ours away, but they usually come up in like threes, and then you just screw it off, and you could pour it if you're on the go. We traveled a lot coming down to the end of his 1 year birthday. So instead of carrying like the whole container of formula, yes, I was doing that. That was me. Then you could just do that. I know for me personally, I had a scare where it was like, I always thought like, what if I didn't have enough formula? So if you still do want to bring the container, you could do that for your peace of mind. Anything that's going to help you feel better and safe and comfortable. Like I said, when you're traveling with your baby, then do that. But this is something that can work for some people, as it did for me coming down, because I kind of knew how much he would eat. And I'm not like freaking out like, oh my gosh, what if he got stuck in traffic and we don't have enough food for him? Like, no, I would pack like 2 more extra like containers for him to know that he was able to have food and that he wasn't hungry. So the other thing that, and the last thing, I think this is the last thing that I'll say on this, is just that you also have to do research on water. So water is a big thing. There's this whole thing going on about it, but I definitely would say like, just pray about it, what kind of water you want to use for your baby. Now, personally, we didn't use the baby water, quote unquote, the ones that say baby water on it, because of the ingredients. Again, we're super like conscious on like what we put into our bodies, especially our kids. So just do your research on that and see what you're comfortable with. But that is something that you want to give your baby, sterile water. You don't want to just be giving them tap water or just any kind of water, because their stomachs and their systems are still developing, right? So let's move on to pumping. So with pumping, let's start off by saying this. If I was talking to me before I had my kids, I would say go see a LC, a lactation consultant, right? Go see someone, go see a professional, sit down with someone. You're finding out, Marissa, that you're pregnant, go see someone. Go see someone so that you can have the understanding, the knowledge, the information that you need to be prepared to do what you need to do, to not only be knowledgeable for yourself, but to really sustain your baby. To see all the options out there, to see the pros and cons and weigh them, and see, okay, is this really a fit for me? But for pumping, one thing you really want to do, like I said, you want to go see someone. I would recommend how many times they recommend. Personally, I would say once I find out when I'm about to give birth, and then I would go afterwards. That's what I would do, a few times afterwards even. Because what they'll do a consultation, right, as most people would do, and then they'll also do a fitting. They'll do a nipple sizing to see how large your nipple is, because that depends on the nipple or flange size that you'll get, or a nipple shield that you can get, because you need to know this information when purchasing pump parts. So if you want to buy pump parts, and you are, say, at 24, which is the standard size that comes with the pumps, which is crazy. I mean, that's a whole different story, because that's not everyone's nipple size. So if you have a 24 size part, or flange rather, or if you don't, you're going to need to get a fitting to see which one is correct for you, because if you don't, it could be uncomfortable, 1, and 2, it can actually debate how much milk you get, because you can either get a lot, you can get what you need, or you can actually get nothing. And that was my situation. I was ignorant to the situation, and it wasn't that I wasn't able to, I mean, part of it was he was eating a lot, but the other side of it was that I didn't know that I could have been producing a little bit more, but I didn't have the correct flange size. to be able to do that. And it's like, if you can do anything to really help you out in your situation, what you're wanting to do or trusting the Lord to do for you, then, you know, go ahead and do it. So I would definitely say that, ask them about breastfeeding as well. Even if you're not wanting to do it, still do it, because you never know. The baby might come, the baby might not want a bottle, the baby might want to be breastfed, right? So definitely be open to it. Not saying that you have to, but just, you know, ask a question. It doesn't hurt to ask. That's how I feel, you know. So another thing that you have to consider not only is flange sizes and pumping parts, because also too, I forgot to mention that there's electrical pumps, there's manual pumps that you can sit there and literally just go like this, where you're kind of just pressing and, you know, releasing and allowing the and squeezing the amount of milk that comes out. I've done that. It's really time consuming. Like I said, you guys can do your own research. There's tons of videos on YouTube or on the internet where you can find out, how that works, but, you know, the different kinds of pumps. But definitely look at that. Washing, when you're pumping, you have to be washing a lot. I mean, I don't miss it. At first I thought I loved to pump, but now I'm kind of like, I'm breastfeeding, I'm like, I don't have to get up. So that's another thing. You have to get up to constantly be on a schedule to pump, because if you're not on a schedule, your baby won't get the milk that he or she needs, or you can develop things like clogged ducts, mastitis, or discomfort, right? You might wake up and there's milk all over your clothes. So that brings me to the other part. You will need to have a pumping bra. You don't, so unless you plan on sitting there like this, or you want to use a regular bra, which is not really comfortable. So, and I do like this because that's literally how you have to stay, so that the equipment can stay in place, so attached to your breast, so that you can pump. Now that's not really the most comfortable thing. Your arms do get tired. I can say so because I've done it. So you definitely want to make sure that you're doing that. You also want to look into the different bottles that they have, and that also ties into formula feeding, because you're going to have a bottle. So do research on bottles. There's glass bottles, silicone bottles, plastic bottles, and like there's so many different nipples out there for the bottles. Some people, you know, prefer one or the other. I'm telling you guys, there's a lot to consider. There's a lot to research. Also, baby soap, like we were using this popular one on Amazon, and we didn't really care too much for the ingredients, so we switched over to a cleaner brand, and that works much better for us. So you know, take that into consideration. Some baby dishwashing soap comes with fragrances. Some people may not like that. We personally don't. So you may want something that's a little bit more fragrant, some lavender scents. They have that. It's a thing. Citrus. I mean, it smells amazing, but it's all preference, right? You're going to need a drying rack as well if you're going to be pumping. So you could, you know, a bottle brush as well, so you can have all that stuff. You have your little section. You have your bottle sterilizer. Why couldn't I say that word? Baby bottle sterilizer. It's a BB. I think that's why. So the baby bottle sterilizer, right? You're going to need that to sanitize your bottles. What I wish I knew, I'm not saying to do this, obviously do at your own expense, but what I learned was just like, back in the days, what they did was just kind of put it in a pot and boil it. So that's what I ended up doing, like when we were traveling, because I'm like, I'm not carrying a whole baby sterilizer to go to another state. Like, that's just not happening. Like, no. So again, things to consider. Pros and cons. Okay, what am I comfortable with? What am I willing to do? You know, so it's just things that you have to really talk about with the Lord and with your partner or your family, depending on what your situation is. But when you're pumping, you get to, like I said, you have to get up and actually pump and wash the parts afterwards. But you can develop a stash, which is great. So a freezer stash, which I have, and it's wonderful. And you can also, like with formula feeding, you can have someone else feed your baby and just kind of relax, take a nap if you need to, but stay on a strict schedule, guys. Make sure, please, 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 please. And lastly, the last thing is breastfeeding, right? So I'm super new to this. I've only been breastfeeding for maybe 3 months, because before that I was pumping and breastfeeding, but now I'm solely just breastfeeding. It's just what works for my family and I, especially my son and I. Also too, it's just more convenient, guys. I'm gonna just be straight up. Sometimes I'm super lazy and I'm like, I do not feel like getting up. to pump and then having to wash pump parts or having to store milk away. Like, it's just a lot. Sometimes it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's be real. Like, if you can catch an extra Z's, that's what you're gonna do. I have another son, so we're just kind of like, okay, I breastfeed my baby, and I just hand him to my husband, or I burp him, have him wait the correct amount of times before putting him down so he doesn't spit up, which is important to know, and you move on. So that's something that that you guys can also think about. Like, that is a huge pro that many people like to do outside of the nutritional value of just the things that come along with breastfeeding. Obviously, it's really good for the baby, but not everyone could do it. So, but if you can, that's just something that you can know, like, hey, that's a pro, like I said, that you can carry on at the back of your mind. Another thing is that increased appetite. Who would have knew that you would be super hungry? I'm more hungry than I was pregnant, which is crazy to me. They say that when you breastfeed, that your belly or your uterus contracts rather. It helps you lose weight. That was not my case. The grace wasn't on that for me. It took some time. Now I'm actually back to the weight, or a weight that I'm comfortable with. So keep that into consideration. I think it just depends on bodies. The same way that every baby is different, where every person is different, right? There's no difference. So I don't know. Try it out. See if that's your case. I'm interested to see how many people experience that or don't experience it. But you have to make sure that while you have the increased appetite, you need to make sure that you're drinking lots of water, just like you were when you were pregnant, so that you can sustain liquid for the breast milk. I mean, that's part of it, right? You need the liquid so you can make milk, outside of the nutritional stuff that you need to be eating, 3 times a day, and your snacks, and your healthy snacks at that. So, because you want your baby to be growing and, developing nicely. So just, whatever you define as good, and what your pediatrician, your OBGYN, then praise the Lord. Because, yeah, so the other thing that I want to talk about is nipple shields and nipple covers. So nipple covers are for, like, when you're leaking a lot of times, like if your baby is crying, if my baby was crying, I would leak. So you would use that on top of a nursing bra, so that your nursing bra does not get soaked in milk, or your t-shirt's not soaked in milk, or your bed sheets is not soaked in milk, because that is a thing. Sometimes you may not realize, oh wait, I gotta feed my baby, it's around that time, and then your milk is just, you're having a letdown before your baby even gets around to crying, which is just amazing how the human body works, right? God knew, he's just amazing. I mean, he really designed everything to perfection. Like, it's mind-blowing. The things that I've seen through this process of breastfeeding, I'm like, wow, he really thought of it all. So it's just, he's just amazing like that. But back to this, because I'm just like awestruck right now just thinking about it. But another thing is the soreness that comes along with it in the beginning. It can be painful. I will say this, please, 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 if you are having a lot of discomfort while breastfeeding, please notify whoever's there at the hospital and consult with your LC, because my son had a tongue tie, and we would have never knew if I didn't say anything. I spoke with a specialist, and they said that he actually did, so he had it snipped, because that can affect their eating, their growth. They can have trouble, speech delays, not speech delays, have a speech impediment, difficulty saying certain words, and even like bad oral hygiene. So, and there's other things that you can just look up on Google and find out about. But I just felt like, once doing that, it was much better. There wasn't any pain and discomfort. There can be redness and there can be inflammation, but you don't want it to be too inflamed. And if it's too painful, then, like I said, consult, because in my other video, Fed is Best, I discussed it, where it's just like, if it's too uncomfortable, the nurse literally told me, the LC, I'm stumbling over my words. The LC, she told me, hey, like, you really need to stop, because if you don't, you'll destroy your nipples. And I was like, listen, if I have to formula feed right now, I'm going to do it to preserve my nipples, because I need them. So, that's something that to take in consideration. They do have, like, ice pads and, like, heat pads. I don't know about all that stuff. I haven't tried it. There's so many, like, different opinions about it, like ups and downs when I read on the internet, and even when I spoke to my LC, I'm just kind of like, you know, I don't feel the grace on that for me, but try it out, do your research, like I said. But nipple butter also helps with the irritation, as well as the nipple shields. They come in like these little, like, oh man, I wish I had it on me, I should have brought it here for the video, but look it up. You could just put it on your nipple and place your bra over it, whether it's a breastfeeding bra or a nursing bra. So the last two things that I want to talk about, well, three, is that your baby's attached to you more than usual because you are their feeding source. You are the food. Outside of being mama, you are the food. People like to joke around and say that, oh, I'm a milk factory or whatever, but I mean, that's literally what it is. And aside from that, you are a human pacifier, okay? If my son is teething, he wants to be latched on. If my son is sleepy, latch. If he wants to be comforted, latch. Everything is a latch. So it's just like, in the beginning, it was a little bit of an adjustment. It was really overwhelming at times because it's just like, wow, like he is in my skin and he is in me. Like, it's, am I pregnant again? But I mean, it's part of it, right? It's what to know before you do it. And it's a beautiful thing. Like, it's worth it because at the end of the day, like, I say this all the time to people, and I think I mentioned it before, but they're not young forever. Like, they're not babies forever. So why not just take this in? If it's worth the sacrifice to me. If it's worth the sacrifice to you, then just pray for grace. And I know the Lord will be able to sustain you for that journey, as well as the people around you supporting you and showing love on you. And lastly, they don't really sleep as often. They don't really sleep as long. And I've talked to other moms about this, so when I say they, that's what I mean, they. So my son as well, he doesn't really sleep super as long. It depends on how he's feeling. I don't know how much he's drinking, obviously, because he's breastfed, but that's something also to consider. You might be up a few times, especially when they're teething. Because that's my experience right now. Both of my kids are teething, and it's like, it feels like the first stages again. But anyways, guys, I hope that this video was super helpful and informative to you. Please let me know in the comments, or you can DM me. My name is Mercy Ulysses on Instagram as well. DM me, like I said, right in the comments here, and just let me know if you have experienced any of these things, if it was helpful, or if there was anything that I mentioned that you experienced and that I didn't say. So, because I mean, I don't know it all. The Lord is still showing me and teaching me things along the way in this journey of motherhood, which is so amazing. And it's a privilege to be able to say that I'm a mom. So please, 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 as I'm sharing with you guys, I'm learning from you guys as well, aside from the Lord. So I pray that this was helpful, and I pray that the Lord will continue to guide you on your journey of motherhood and parenthood, so that you can be able, like I said, to train up your child and be able to just carry on this responsibility, the honor that the Lord has given you to carry a child and to really steward them in wisdom and in the heart of the Father. So bye guys, see you guys next time.